Have you ever thought that because two things happen together, one must cause the other? Have you ever used a small exception to undermine a major rule? Have you found yourself believing an expert who is speaking outside their field? If your answer is yes, don't worry, you're not alone. You have fallen victim to some of the most subtle and cunning logical fallacies, those that creep into our daily conversations disguised as common sense. Welcome back to Cogitoski, and to the second episode of our series on exposing the viruses of the mind. In the last episode, we covered the 5 most common basic fallacies. Today, we go deeper. We will learn to spot the tricks used by the pros, the ones that require a more vigilant mind to detect. Get ready, because we are about to add 5 new weapons to your intellectual arsenal. Let's begin with the 6th fallacy in our series, one responsible for a huge amount of superstition and misunderstanding in our world. The false cause fallacy, also known as with it, therefore because of it. Its Latin name is post hoc ergo propter hoc. It occurs when we assume that because event B came after event A, then event A must have caused event B. Our minds are wired to find patterns and connect causes with effects, and this fallacy deceptively exploits this natural tendency. A classic example asterisk: I wore my favorite team's jersey yesterday, and they won the game. Therefore, my jersey is the reason they won. This sounds ridiculous, but we see this fallacy in more serious forms every day. An example from economics asterisk: after the new president took office, the unemployment rate went up. Therefore, the new president's policies are the cause of the rise in unemployment. This might be true, but it might not be. There could be countless other factors: a global economic crisis, technological changes, or a natural business cycle. Jumping to the conclusion that the first event caused the second is just a temporal coincidence, not proof of causality. Always remember, correlation does not imply causation. Just because two things happen together or in sequence doesn't mean one causes the other. Before you accept any causal relationship, always look for stronger evidence than mere timing. The 7th fallacy is a favorite of those who want to undermine any truth or rule: the fallacy of division. This fallacy occurs when we assume that what is true for the whole must be true for every one of its parts. It's an attempt to dismantle a collective truth by pointing out that one of its components does not share the same property. A simple example asterisk: this machine is very heavy. Therefore, every part of it must be heavy. This is clearly false, as the machine could be made of thousands of light screws and wires. But it gets more insidious in abstract arguments. An example from debates asterisk: Team A is the best team in the league. Therefore, every player on Team A is better than any player on other teams. This is not necessarily true. Other teams might have more skilled individual players, but Team A works better as a whole. Another example asterisk: water is liquid and transparent. Water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Therefore, hydrogen and oxygen are also liquid and transparent. This is a glaring scientific error. This fallacy teaches us an important lesson. The whole can be greater than or different from the sum of its parts. When someone tries to refute a holistic idea by focusing on a small part, be wary. They may be using the fallacy of division. The 8th fallacy is the exact opposite of the previous one, and it's called the fallacy of composition. It occurs when we assume that what is true for the parts must be true for the whole. It's an attempt to construct a false universal truth by assembling the properties of individual parts. A simple example asterisk: every part of this car is lightweight. Therefore, the entire car is lightweight. This might be true, but it isn't necessarily. The sum of thousands of light parts could result in a very heavy car. An example from economics asterisk: if one person stands up at a concert, they will see better. Therefore, if everyone stands up, everyone will see better. This is obviously false. What works for the individual can lead to a counterproductive result when applied to everyone. Another example asterisk: the atoms of a human being are invisible to the naked eye. A human is made of atoms. Therefore, a human is invisible to the naked eye. This fallacy reminds us that assembling small truths doesn't necessarily lead to a big truth. The whole must always be evaluated as an independent system with its own properties that may not be present in its parts. The ninth fallacy is a powerful weapon for manipulating public opinion. The appeal to authority fallacy. This fallacy occurs when we claim something is true simply because a person of authority or fame said it, without providing any logical evidence to support the claim. We naturally tend to trust experts, and this fallacy exploits that trust. But not every appeal to authority is a fallacy. It's logical to trust a doctor talking about medicine, but it becomes a fallacy in two main cases. 1. When the authority is not an expert in the field asterisk, a famous movie star says this type of investment is safe. Therefore, I should invest my money in it. The actor's fame doesn't make them a financial expert. 2. When the experts in that field disagree asterisk, Dr. X says his theory is correct. This is not sufficient proof, especially if there are dozens of other scientists who disagree with him. This fallacy is extremely common in advertising, using celebrities to endorse products they have no expertise in, and in political debates, appealing to a religious or historical authority out of context. When you face an argument of this type, ask yourself, is this person a genuine expert in this specific field? And is there a consensus among other experts? Don't let titles or fame blind you to the need for real evidence. The 10th and final fallacy for today is a particularly subtle and destructive one, the begging the question fallacy or circular reasoning. This is the mother of all logical fallacies because it makes an argument seem proven when it's actually just spinning in a circle. This fallacy occurs when the conclusion you are trying to prove is already present as one of the premises of the argument, either explicitly or implicitly. A simple, clear example asterisk, this book must be trusted because it is a holy book, and we know it's holy because it says so itself. Here, you are assuming the book is true to prove that it is true. A more subtle example asterisk, freedom of speech is important because it's essential that people should be able to express themselves freely. The second sentence is just a rephrasing of the first, not evidence for it. You haven't provided any reason why it's essential for people to express themselves freely. This fallacy is sometimes hard to detect because it often uses different words to say the same thing twice. When you hear an argument, always ask yourself, is the evidence provided just a repetition of the conclusion in a different format? If the answer is yes, you are dealing with a worthless circular argument. False cause, division, composition, appeal to authority, and circular reasoning. You have now added 10 intellectual viruses to your mind's database. You are no longer just a passive listener, but an active analyst, capable of deconstructing arguments and examining their foundations. Remember, the goal is not just to expose the mistakes of others, but to purify our own thinking first. The more aware we become of these fallacies, the less likely we are to use them ourselves. In the next episode, we will continue our journey and uncover a new set of intellectual tricks. Until then, tell me in the comments, which of these 5 new fallacies do you find most prevalent in your field of work or study? Thank you for watching, and always remember, a strong argument needs no tricks, and a weak argument is not saved by all the tricks in the world. I'll see you in the next episode.